Coming up on Network Africa, 31 people die after their passenger bus falls off a bridge in Mali. Chad sets the date for its first presidential elections since the end of civilian rule. Plus, Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan visits Libya to deepen bilateral ties. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Olarinde. It's been a tragic one in Mali as 31 people have plummeted to their deaths after a bus flipped over and plunged off a bridge in the country. At least 10 others are injured, some of them severely. The bus had been en route to neighboring Burkina Faso from Kain Eba when it veered off a bridge crossing the Bago River. Officials surmise the driver lost control of the vehicle, causing the accident, which occurred at 5 p.m. local time on Tuesday. Victims include Malians and citizens of other West African countries. Now has a new prime minister, and it's the former Guinean opposition leader Mamadou Uri Ba. He's been appointed by the country's military junta, and this is coming a week after it abruptly dissolved the government. His appointment comes amid growing dissatisfaction with the junta in the country. On Monday this week, 2 people were killed after police clashed with protesters during a nationwide workers' strike. Trade unions have been demanding lower food prices, even as Guineans struggle with the high cost of living in the nation. Well, Mr. Ba is popularly known in Guinea as Ba Uri. He's urging the unions to call off the strike and also highlight what can be done to solve the challenges gradually. The trained economist is expected to not only set up a new government to replace the one that was dismissed, but he's expected to also take steps to alleviate the economic hardships facing millions of people. Chad has set a new date for its upcoming presidential election, affirming the commitment to transitioning the country back to democracy from junta rule. The delayed elections is expected to take place in May, and it will consist of 2 rounds, with the provincial results expected by July. Initially, the military authorities who seized power in 2021 had proposed holding elections within 18 months. However, they later extended the transition period to October 10, 2024. Now, this vote is supposed to mark the end of a political transition that began in 2021 when the former president, Idris Deby, died after 3 decades in power. According to the announcement by the electoral agency, the first round of the presidential poll is scheduled for May 6th, followed by the second round on June 22. The agency also states that the lists of candidates selected by the Constitutional Council will be published in March. Let's move to Senegal now. A national dialogue that was convened by President Macky Sall has ended, culminating in significant developments for the nation's political landscape. The conclusion of the dialogue on Tuesday revealed 2 crucial outcomes that are set to shape the nation's electoral future. The first focal point of discussion revolved around the electoral process, with the second major deliberation centering on determining the election date. Now, a consensus emerged around setting June 2nd as the date for the presidential election. However, President Sall has to give a final validation to the decisions that were reached at the discussions by the participants. So analysts believe the outcome of this dialogue is anticipated to pave the way for a transparent and inclusive electoral process and reinforcing Senegal's commitment to democratic principles. The South African government taxes make up 27% of the petrol price charged at the pump and just over 28% of the price of diesel. Now, the finance minister reveals this in the full budget review following his speech outlining the government's spending plans for the next financial year. In his speech, he offered some relief to motorists by not increasing the general fuel levy for the 2024-2025 financial year. Now, this will result in tax relief of around 4 billion rands for South African motorists. While some motorists have expressed appreciation for this move, many others are urging for additional measures to address the high petrol prices in the country. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, has more.
Despite economic pressures, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana chose not to increase the general fuel levy or the road accident fund for the upcoming 2024-2025 financial year. However, amidst these announcements, concerns loom large for some motorists. Some are telling me that they're already struggling to cope with the financial burden of high fuel prices.
We really can't. I don't know when this is going to end. I don't know how it's going to end. But, I mean, the government must come up with something because we can't take it anymore. It also affects, I mean, the amount that we use to buy food. It's no longer the same. You walk into a store, a price of bread is now 21 rand something. And then we used to buy bread maybe with 14 rand something. I mean, I went to a store the other day just to buy a toothpaste, which cost 39 rand. I used to pay 11 rand 99 in the past. So I don't know how it's going to end.
For some, the prospect of another petrol hike is daunting and may push their budgets to the breaking point.
It is challenging because, you know, with 200 rands, years back, you could move for quite a distance. But now with 400 rands, it's only rounds around the vicinity you can't even go for. Yeah. Fewer hikes, definitely we can't afford. As much as we would want things to be in order in our country for everything, for everyone to survive. But with these situations for fuel, it's just hectic. It's just too much.
You know, enough is enough. Every time you fill up your tank, you're hit with soaring petrol prices, leaving less in your pocket for essentials. I think it's time for the government to prioritize the well-being of its citizens.
As South Africans navigate the complexities of fuel prices and taxation, the government's decisions carry significant implication for motorists, budgets, and the overall economy. How these measures will impact everyday commuters and businesses remains to be seen. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Well, we're still in South Africa. 7 suspects have been arrested in connection with the murder of well-known South African rapper Kiernan Forbes, popularly known as AKA, and his close friend, chef and entrepreneur Tabelo Tibbs Moshoane. Now, the two were gunned down outside a restaurant in Durban last year, February, in a killing that shocked South Africans and fans of the musician. Well, police say the hitmen were paid to target AKA, but no motive was revealed. The suspects are all aged below 36 and are due to appear in court on Thursday. Well, during AKA's career, he had a string of musical hits, including with Nigeria's Burna Boy, and he began his musical career as part of the rap group Entity before he launched his solo career, winning several awards in South Africa for his music. He was celebrated internationally with several nominations for awards from Black Entertainment Television, BET, and MTV Europe. Well, let's get more on this story. Joining us is our correspondent, Innocent Samosa, for more. Hello, Innocent. Thanks for your time. We understand that 7 suspects, have now been arrested in connection with this murder. What more can you tell us?
Well, indeed, Layo, a very good evening to you and our viewers around the world. It's good to be in your company once again. I guess several leads and deadlocks. The suspect that was the first suspect, rather, was arrested last year in April. And of course, the Minister of Police, that is Minister Begigele, had mentioned that it was not easy, but they had to follow them to even as far as Eswatini. But he also mentioned, Layo, that they could not bring members of the media along because of the requests from families. So in other words, they had to basically not allow media to have all the information around the investigation of the killing of AKA and Tebello Tips. But we now know that the spotter followed AKA from the airport to the hotel, from the hotel to the restaurant, and after the restaurant, that's where the street is at, where he was unfortunately gunned down. But according to the police line, we do understand that he was followed from the time he landed in Durban. So that just goes to show that there was a motive to actually, kill AKA. But also Minister Kele said that the owner of the vehicle that was used is not actually involved, but he basically rented the car to the suspects. But we do understand also, Layo, that the two suspects from Eswatini will be appearing in court in the Durban Magistrate Court tomorrow, that is Thursday, Layo.
Indeed, and that takes me to my next question. You know, they expected in court on Thursday. What can we expect from proceedings?
Well, I guess, as usual, we expect the supporters of the late AKA. They will indeed be outside court to show solidarity, but also we're expecting to see the families of the two gentlemen. But also, I guess it's going to be short, like it's going to be short proceedings. And I'm saying this because this is the first time of them appearing in court. I guess because of paperwork and all of these things, it normally drags and takes time. But I think, like I've indicated, we will be seeing a lot of people, a lot of supporters, and also the South African music industry. I saw a poster that they are organizing to essentially go there and show solidarity.
And, you know, AKA was celebrated both at home and internationally. How are South Africans reacting to this latest development?
At this point in time, Layo, I guess there is mixed reactions. Some are saying that the wheels of justice have started to turn, but some of them are saying that it's turning at a slow pace. Given the history of the high-profile cases in the country, you would recall the issue, the case of the former Bafana Bafana captain, Senzo Meiwa. Till today, we don't know who killed Senzo, but we do know the people who were in the house when he was murdered. But still today, we don't know who killed Senzo. Those are some of the things that put a little bit of despondent to the citizens. They really don't trust the work that is being done by the police when it comes to high-profile cases. Also, if you take it to apartheid, also the person who murdered Chris Hani, it took long time for them to actually find the killer and basically arrest him. So, yeah, mixed reactions. But I guess for the Forbes family and the Mutswene family, they are quite. For them, it's more like catharsis because, again, it's challenging because it's putting salt on the wound, but it's a path of really finding closure of who really killed their loved one.
Innocent. And, you know, this speaks to the high rate of crime in South Africa. How is the government, working to change this menace?
Yeah, the crime situation is really terrible, Layo. And I tell you now that the issues of crime, it should really, I think it's important for government to essentially prioritize more funding to fight a crime in the country, because it's something that is really not only dealing with citizens, but it's crippling the economy, Layo, because there are people who would want to come to Cape Town, want to come to Durban, but when they think of the crime, they really don't want to risk their time in South Africa. So that put a dent to the country. But I guess the government with President Cyril Ramaphosa, he has mentioned that they have prioritized some funds to essentially capacitate the police to deal with the issues of crime in the country. But I guess it's not enough, Layo, because I think the issue of crime in South Africa, it should start at a family level and school level, where kids are being taught how to behave. Because just last week, Layo, a student shot a teacher. Can you imagine that? I mean, the teacher was just going to work. He was not aware that he's going to be shot at by a student, so by a learner. So that just goes to show that it's a long-standing issue that is deeply grounded in the family structures. So there's a need for us as a society, the societal issue in the country, that we should really prioritize it and make sure that we deal with it, because it doesn't only deal with the person on the street, but it does really deal with our economy and everything that comes with it, Layo.
Indeed, Innocent, but we'll leave it at that, and we'll keep our eyes on the court proceedings, on this murder. But thank you so much, our correspondent, Innocent Samosa.
Thank you so much, colleague.
Thank you for staying with us. Sudan's Army Chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has visited Libya, meeting with the head of Presidential Council, Mohamed Al-Menfi, and he leads the institution of the UN-backed government in Western Libya. Mr. Al-Menfi commended the Jeddah deal, which gave a short-lived ceasefire at the start of the war in Sudan, adding that it's very important. It's an important step towards ending the conflict and war and reaching stability in Sudan. Or during a briefing after their meeting, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan said both countries have agreed on reinforcing their relations through different aspects. The chair of Sudan's ruling Sovereign Council also hinted at deeper cooperations in different fields. Or at the briefing, they also called for a truce during the upcoming Muslim month of Ramadan, because over 12,000 people have lost their lives in the 10 months of war in Sudan, and 8 million have been forced to flee their homes. The world is witnessing the most heinous crimes against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, and this is according to the Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. He was making these remarks at the session of Human Rights Council in Geneva, stressing the need for a ceasefire and calling on Israel to refrain from carrying out military action in the city of Rafah. Mr. Shoukry also added that the war in Gaza has exposed what he calls double standards in the approach to crisis around the world. He is now calling for the need to enable humanitarian organizations to carry out their work in Gaza and to allow aid to all parts of the Palestinian enclave. Back here in Nigeria, as part of efforts to promote education in the Northeast, an international funding charity, Education Cannot Wait, ECW, plans to renew a multi-year investment which has already reached over 400,000 children and adolescents in the region. ECW, accompanied by high-level representatives from the governments of Germany and Norway, announced a $15 million allocation to renew the ECW multi-year resilience program. Now, this is in coordination with the Borno state government to ensure the right to education for girls and boys. The delegation travels to the northeast, where the violence of the Boko Haram insurgency and other armed groups have disrupted education of almost 2 million school-age children.
I'm here today in northeast Nigeria, in Borno State, Majigora, where Education Cannot Wait has invested for the past 3 years in a joint program for UNICEF, Save the Children and Norwegian Refugee Council to manage the education together with the Ministry of Education of Nigeria and local education authorities for children and adolescents affected by the internal crisis, the armed conflict and the Boko Haram. And it's been a day of joy to 3 years later see the achievements of all our partners. And together with the co-chairs of the Education Cannot Wait's Executive Committee, Germany and Norway, we have seen it firsthand.
The Lagos State government, through the Office of Special Advisor on Climate Change and Circular Economy, has asked residents of the state and private organizations in the state to support efforts of the government towards achieving a clear path of the growth of the circular economy. The Special Advisor on Climate Change and Circular Economy, Mrs. Titilayo Oshodi, made this comment at the stakeholders' engagement on fostering collaboration for economic advancement.
Environmentalists, Lagos State senior government officials, traditional rulers, and other individuals passionate about the environment converge on Zone Event Center Lagos to deliberate on the dynamics in combating the escalating threat of climate change in Lagos State. Top on the agenda is State Climate Change Action Plan from 2020 to 2025, which makes majority of Lagosians vulnerable to the drastic effects of climate change.
The Lagos State Adaptation and Resilience Plan estimates the effects of climate inaction at $22 to $29 billion, 11 times the state's 2022 annual budget. These numbers and statistics are worrisome. Hence the desire of my office at the Climate Change and Circular Economy to work with all stakeholders in the state so that Mr. Governor's vision of a zero carbon Lagos by 2050 becomes a reality.
Lagos, a coastal city working towards achieving a circular and resourceful economy, which aims to promote the concept of repairing and recycling used materials for environmental sustainability, perhaps is the most appropriate initiative to keep the state safe. And State Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget emphasizes the benefits.
We have seen a rejuvenation of a slow green sector that now has new jobs and businesses created by fresh investments in innovative technologies and infrastructure for waste management, resource recovery, and empowered entrepreneurs who are developing sustainable businesses. We are optimistic that it will also boost economic competitiveness by optimizing resource use and reducing waste, thereby lowering operational costs for businesses. As a government, we will ensure that we develop and implement policies and regulatory framework that will make our full transition to a circular economy as easy as possible.
The Manufacturing Africa Advisor of the British Deputy High Commission has identified some key areas for Lagos State to generate more revenue.
We identified sectors of the highest economic opportunity in Nigeria within green manufacturing. So these are those 7: plastic, solar, clean cooking, insect-based animal feeds, electric motorcycles, and used cooking oil as biodiesel, and then plant-based proteins. Across these 7, McKinsey saw it as a potential $2 billion opportunity.
Environmental sustainability of Lagos is a major priority, and government asks everyone to secure their environment.
Apart from the fact that it affects our health, our environment, for our economic viability, we need to take climate change seriously.
The Lagos State government says it's on a mission to tackle the challenge of climate change by 10% in the next 4 years, and also looks forward to partnerships that will achieve the desired result for Lagos State.
The Republic of Congo has become the latest exporter of liquefied natural gas by starting production of the first cargo a year after Italian energy company Eni launched the Congo LNG project with local partners. Well, the first cargo ship loaded with LNG will head to the Italian regasification plant in the Tuscan town of Piombino in the coming days. Well, the project will have an annual capacity of 4.5 billion cubic meters of natural gas, which is used to heat homes and businesses. It is formed when the gas is cooled around to be stored and shipped safely on board specifically designed ships. Europe has been searching for new sources of energy since it decided to cut off supplies to Russia following the invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago. And finally, on the program, 3 members of an Italian family kidnapped and held hostage in Mali since May 2022 have returned home to Rome. Rocco Lagone, his wife Maria, and their son Giovanni landed at the Campino airport and were greeted by the government, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, and another son, Daniele. Mr. Tajani says the family members arrived in good condition. Rome says an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group known as the Group for the Support of Islam and Muslims kidnapped the family from their home in a community for Jehovah's Witnesses on the outskirts of Kutiala, as the city southeast of the capital, Bamako. The Italian authorities said the family had lived in Mali for years as part of a well-integrated community of Jehovah's Witnesses. And on that happy note, we end the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olaringi.